Assalamu alaikum. It's hard to talk about stock market investing without mentioning the FAANG stocks. And who are the FAANG stocks? Well, they are the 5 big tech companies: Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google, which has the formal name of Alphabet. Over the past 5 years, if you had invested in the FAANG stocks, you would be up nearly 300% for an average annual return of close to 30%. This means if you had invested $10,000 only 5 years ago, you would now have close to $40,000 in your investment account. So now the question that suggests itself is to FAANG or not to FAANG? Well, in this video, I'm going to help you answer this question by giving Halalness ratings for each of these stocks, ranging from extremely uncomfortable to invest in to extremely comfortable. And without further ado, let's get started. For those who are unfamiliar with my Halalness ratings are basically based on 3 different factors. The first is the level of reliance of the company on interest in its operations. The second is whether or not a material part of the business's revenue comes from haram. And the third is what impact is this company having on its environment, on its workers, and is this company operating ethically? Starting with the level of reliance of these companies on interest, I made this table, which may look a bit intimidating, but it's really simple. Basically, what we're looking at is how much interest expense each company has in relation to the company's total expenses, and how much interest income each company has in relation to its total revenue. And from these ratios, we're trying to see how much is the company reliant on interest to operate. You'll see that all of these ratios basically range between 0 and around 1%, which gives me confidence in saying that these businesses are not reliant on interest to operate. The only exception is Netflix, where the interest expense compared to total expense for the company is more than 5%. Which makes me question whether or not Netflix is reliant on dealing with interest to operate. And that's why you'll see in the row below, the very last row at the bottom, my rating for each of these different companies is that I am comfortable saying they are not reliant on interest, with exception to Netflix, wherein it is questionable whether Netflix is reliant on interest or not. Now let's talk about how each company makes its money. Starting with Facebook. Facebook owns social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and the virtual reality headset maker Oculus. Facebook's primary source of revenue is the ads that it sells on its social media platforms. As of Q3 of 2020, the breakdown of Facebook's revenue was as follows: 99% from advertising and 1% from other sources. Some people mistakenly think that Facebook sells users' data. It absolutely does not. It gathers as much of your data as possible in order to teach its algorithm how to keep your attention as long as possible so it can show you more ads. Now, while there is nothing inherently haram about selling ads, I am rather uncomfortable with Facebook's business model. Facebook's business is based on selling their users' attention to advertisers. So their product, the thing they are selling, is their users' attention. This means the more attention that Facebook is able to get for itself and its various social media platforms, the richer they become as a company. So naturally, what do they try to do? They try to get the most people to spend the most amount of time on their social media platforms as they can, regardless of what they need to show the user to keep them on their site, and regardless of what this time on their sites actually means for the user's well-being. So if Facebook has to show conspiracy theories, then that's what it's going to show. If it has to show extreme political views in order to keep users on their sites, then that's what it's going to show. If it has to show boobs and butts, then that's what it's going to show. I Instagram 50 years ago probably would have been considered a porn site. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Facebook's social media platforms have never been used for good. They have been used for good. They are used for good, and in a massive way. And that's why I have an account on Facebook. I have an account on Instagram and WhatsApp. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, both of you, you know that my posts are fire on that platform. And I post there at least annually. Moreover, I think that the social media platforms creators really did have good intentions. However, what I'm saying is that the business model itself, which is trading human attention for money from advertisers, given the power that these social media platforms have in terms of getting user data and then using that data to grab that user's attention, this business model is fundamentally dangerous and incentivizes the wrong things on the part of Facebook. And when the business model is flawed and dangerous, over time, the bad of the company is going to outweigh the good. Unless the business model is changed or regulated. And for this reason, I am currently uncomfortable investing in Facebook. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, I'd really appreciate if you left a like, subscribe for more content, and if you'd like to buy stocks and you live in the United States, then try out M1 Finance. Use the link in the description to support the channel. All right, now moving on to Apple and how Apple makes its money. As of Q3 of 2020, the breakdown of Apple's revenue was as follows. 44% of Apple's revenue came from iPhone sales, 22% from services, 12% from Mac sales, 11% iPad sales, and 11% wearables, home, and accessories. Apple services include things like Apple Store, Apple Card, Apple Music, Apple Pay, iCloud, iTunes, and the Mac App Store. Of the different Apple services, high on the list of suspects for prohibition in Islam are Apple Card, because of Islam's prohibition on interest, and Apple Music and Apple TV, because of some of the foul and vulgar content in many songs and shows offered through Apple Music and TV. The specific contributions of Apple Card, Apple Music, and Apple TV to the revenue of Apple are not detailed in Apple's reports. However, given the enormity of Apple and its many different sources of revenue, I'm still comfortable investing in Apple in light of its revenue sources. Now moving on to Amazon. So Amazon is best known for being an online retailer, although it does have a very diverse and robust group of business segments that produce revenue for it. Revenue breakdown for Amazon for Q3 of 2020 was as follows. 51% from online stores, 20% from third-party selling services, 12% from Amazon Web Services, 7% from subscription services, 5% from physical stores, and 5% from other. Now, two sources of concern here. The 5% from other source of revenue includes co-branded credit cards. Now, it's not clear how much Amazon makes in interest from these cards, if any, since this depends on its agreement with its partner bank Chase. Also, one of the perks of subscription, primarily Prime subscription, which offers subscribers free shipping and a bunch of other perks, which is constantly expanding, is Amazon Video. So it's also very hard to judge how much Amazon Video contributes to Amazon's revenue, since it's simply a perk among many other perks that Amazon offers in its Prime membership. So given that the profit that comes from the Amazon card, whether that includes interest, is questionable, and the fact that Amazon Video really is just a perk in the Amazon Prime membership and it's not a direct source of revenue for Amazon, and given the size of Amazon's business, I am still comfortable investing in Amazon from a halalness perspective. Now let's talk about Netflix and how it makes its money. Netflix primarily is a streaming subscription service. It offers a wide range of movies and TV shows. It doesn't sell ads, it doesn't sell user data. Basically, the primary source of revenue for Netflix is the subscription fees that it collects. So the business model is fine, but the content that Netflix offers its users is often not in line with Islamic standards. And because this is basically its primary source of revenue, and a good percentage of the content that it offers its customers is not in line with Islamic standards, I have to say that I'm uncomfortable investing in Netflix from a halalness perspective. Now moving on to Alphabet. Alphabet is the parent company of Google, the world's most popular search engine. Alphabet's revenue comes from two reporting segments, Google and what it calls other bets. Google includes ads, Android, Chrome, hardware, Google Cloud, Google Maps, Google Play, Search, and YouTube. Google generates revenues primarily from advertising, sales of apps, in-app purchases, digital content products, and hardware. As for other bets, this includes a bunch of projects that are in their infancy and are generating less than 1% of Alphabet's revenue. So I see nothing inherently wrong about Alphabet's revenue-generating businesses. Certainly with YouTube, you can say that there's a large overlap between it and my arguments against Facebook. However, when you consider that YouTube revenue is basically 10% of Alphabet's revenue, and the fact that much of what YouTube offers is very useful. So take, for example, Khan Academy, and all the value they were able to produce for their viewers. Or for example, Practical Islamic Finance. I hear that brother really knows what he's talking about and is an all-around good guy and role model. So because YouTube is only 10% of Alphabet's revenue, unlike Facebook wherein all of its revenue is coming from the social media platforms that it operates, and because a lot of YouTube content is rather useful, I am still comfortable investing in Alphabet from a halalness perspective. So the results so far are that Netflix and Facebook did not make the cut, whereas Apple, Amazon, and Alphabet did make the cut. Which brings us to our third criteria, which is what impact is this company having on the environment, on workers, and is this company operated in an ethical manner or not? Here, Apple fails the test. And for those who are familiar with the channel, they know that I've made a video on this topic. In a nutshell, there are some pretty reputable reports that Uyghur Muslim slave labor is being used in supply chains that Apple uses to assemble its products via third parties in China. And with Apple, when you have 80% of its revenue coming from physical products that it sells, and basically 100% of those physical products being assembled in China, and the supply chain in China being tainted with slave labor, this is a deal breaker for me. So I am uncomfortable investing in Apple from a halalness perspective. So this leaves from the FAANG stocks the two companies that got the Practical Islamic Finance coveted halalness rating of comfortable. The two companies are Alphabet, the parent company of Google, and Amazon. And incidentally, I actually think that these are the two companies out of the FAANG stocks that have the brightest futures. I know these two companies are not without their imperfections. However, given their enormity, I think this is to be expected. This is why, after all, I am rating these two companies as comfortable to invest in from a halalness perspective as opposed to extremely comfortable to invest in from a halalness perspective. In either case, make sure you do your own due diligence. What you heard in this video was simply my opinion. If you liked anything in this video or found it useful, then I'd really appreciate if you left a like, subscribe for more content, and if you'd like to buy stocks in the United States and would like to support the channel, then try out M1 Finance, link in the description below. Until next time, make sure to take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you all.